was born in Mexico in the state of Michoacan, and I was there until 7. I was about to be 8. I don't remember much about my life over there. I just have like very vague memories. And even coming here throughout my childhood, there's not a lot like that I remember. Just, here and there things that maybe caused me some trauma or stuff like that, but nothing too, I don't remember much, which is weird. But I was, born in Mexico. My parents are obviously Mexican. We were raised in a Catholic family, very traditional. So it was very hard being the firstborn. I'm the only woman and I have 2 younger brothers. So it was very hard being the firstborn and being a woman. And I feel like, my parents did the best that they could with what they had. But on me, even till this day, I'm still working through a lot of the things. And so we moved to the US. We went to South City. We were there for a few months, and then my parents, thankfully, they got a house really, really rather quickly. But my dad ended up going on disability because he got hurt at work. So it was a lot of struggle financially. My brother also got really ill, like in the ICU. They didn't know if he was going to make it. So this is the one that follows me. And so it was a really tough, time for my parents at, in those moments. And so I think some of the responsibility did fall on me because obviously I was the oldest and I was a woman. So,
what does that mean? What does that mean for you in your culture? To be the oldest and to be a woman? What kind of responsibilities did you have to take on?
Well, as a woman, they raise you that, you need to learn how to cook. You're the one that's going to be cleaning. You're the one that's going to be taking care, kind of in a way, raising you to be that housewife that, the mom has been, the housewife, the one that provides, the one that is nurturing, the one that is washing, cooking, cleaning, and
so basically stability in the house.
Right. So I would question a lot of that. Because I'm like, well, why can't he do it? He can, he has his arms, he has his feet, they can do it. So it was like constant clashing between myself and my parents. Because I was always questioning everything. I was questioning why I had to do everything. I was questioning why we had to go to church and why church was saying all these things that made absolutely no sense to me. So I was always questioning. And so, I was also very protected. I was really not talked to. Like, there was no sex talk. There was no talk about a lot of the things in the real world. And so I was very young when I got pregnant. I was 17. And I can't blame it on my parents. I just know that they could have helped me, I guess, by educating me a little bit more. I was very naive. And it was hard. It was very, very hard. And I was very ashamed. Like, even maybe until 2 years ago, it hit me that I had been carrying this shame for like years. And it was, sometimes I feel like I haven't been through a lot. Like, my life has been easy in comparison to others, but then I look back at it and I'm like, no, well, I've been through a lot. Like, that's traumatic and it's been hard. So I got pregnant, and then I got pregnant again like a year and a half later. So I had two babies, a toddler and a baby, by the age of 20. I was living with my parents. But at this point, he's my ex. So my ex was, we were living with my parents, and obviously that was a very tough situation. So many people in one house. And at some point we finally did move out. We, got an apartment. And, it was okay. I don't know if I necessarily say that I was happy. It was just living, that's what I mean, to me, like the majority of my life, it was just living. It wasn't anything like.
Was it like surviving?
I think in a way it was surviving.
Just doing what you need to do to get through the day.
Right. I don't think I ever knew myself really, like, the way my parents got brought up. They did, I'm sure they did better than what they had when they were young, but they didn't teach us, a lot of things. We never got an apology. We never got like an I love you. We never got like a you're beautiful. We really never got any praises.
What was their love language then? Looking back now with what you know, like what was your parents' like love language? How did they show you love?
I think for my mom, it was food, cooking. And that to this day, that's still her love language.
Right.
That and like doing and saying and believing as they do, because if we don't, it's like we're disrespecting them. Like we couldn't have an opinion of our own because it was disrespecting them. We couldn't have likes or dislikes of our own because it was like we were disrespecting them. And I mean, I understand them. Their mentality is, old school. They are very traditional. It's hard for them to catch up to, how open the world is now. Obviously, they're better. I think, having grandchildren, it's helped them be, they're more loving. They actually do. They say, I love you now. They're definitely much more loving. But I mean, I'm sure that for them, it was just as hard. And so, yeah, it was, like I said, it was like we were just living. I was just living. And, I had some issues with family at some point. And then I was having issues with my ex. And I was at a point maybe when I was like 26, 27, where I didn't know what I wanted. And I was highly unhappy. I was having, anxiety. I was having depression. And I was just like, this is not okay. And, at some point I remember like, driving down and like crying. And I was just like, no, like I can't do this anymore. Like something needs to change.
Yeah.
And I think it was at that point where I was just like, I decided that I didn't want to suffer. And I remember telling myself, like, I don't want to suffer. I don't want to live like this. Like, I want to have an extraordinary life. Like, I don't want to be doing this. And so I think 2018, at the end of 2017, I finally decided that it was time to like leave that relationship. And I think at that point, like, I just really started working on myself and like stepping into who I wanted to be. I started listening to a whole bunch of Tony Robbins, a whole bunch of like Les Brown, a whole bunch of all these, inspirational speakers, all these coaches, and just started to take in their teachings. And I, realized that I was in control of my life and I was in control of my emotions, and that I had been playing the victim in a lot of the situations, and that, at the end of the day, where I had been at was because of the choices I made. And at that point, it was just moving forward. But it was like I was like reborn. It was like a birth, because I feel like from around that time till I feel like prior to that time, I was like asleep. Like, that's how I feel. Like I was like a zombie.
And it's so interesting that you don't have too many memories either.
No, not even in high school. A lot of people, like my cousin, she went to high school with me. She'll be like, oh, you remember this person, or remember this time? And I'm like, no, I don't. It's so strange. I don't know.
Like being in black and white, and then all of a sudden everything's in color.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, that was like, it was like freeing.
Yeah. What made you interested in the work you do now, or what made you interested in energy work for yourself and like life coaching, and what got you interested in that?
Well, I was, like I said, I was listening to a lot of Tony Robbins, a lot of Tony Robbins. And at some point I was like, man, I want to do that. I want to be like him. Like, I want to coach people. And I was like, well, I know that I'm nowhere near like, I haven't healed, or I haven't. And even then I didn't even know really like healing. If, I didn't know how to put that into terms, but, I was like, well, I'm not there yet, but maybe at some point I will be. But like, I want to do that. I want to help people. I want to, you know, I don't want people to suffer. And I didn't want I wasn't happy when, you know, I was suffering. Once I got out of that, I was like, I want to help people get out of their suffering and know that they can control their life, they can control their emotions. So that's when, you know, it hit me that, okay, maybe this is what I want to do. But then, you know, I'm human, the self-doubt. I'm like, well, what makes me think I can do that? Like, I'm nowhere near qualified, all these things. And so slowly it started shifting from like personal development to like spiritual development. And then I read the book, The Power of Now. And that was like huge for me. The Power of Now. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like there's more to this universe. Like there's more to just what we see. Like there's, I mean, an unbelievable amount of knowledge and experiences and so many things that I had no idea. So I started meditating and I started having, you know, downloads, and I started doing, you know, doing all these things. I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing. And I mean, I was like on a spiritual high for like the first few months, because I was like, wow, like I didn't know none of this existed. And then I found a group of people. I think that was the first group of people who I really connected with, because they do meditation, like group meditation. And I started going to them on a weekly basis, and it helped me out a lot. And I started receiving messages that I was a healer, and I started getting the downloads, but I was like, no, like me, like I can't, like how? I'm not like that. Like it can't be me. You got the wrong person. And it just kept on happening. And then even, you know, the leads in this meditation group, I forgot what they're called, but the ones that, you know, are in charge, they, you know, they told me they got the messages too. And I kept on doubting it. And then until some point I was like, I went to some like spiritual classes, or just, you know, classes in general. And when I went there, I realized that, you know what, yeah, this is what I want to do. And like, it was just, I guess the blockage just kind of like disappeared, and I came back. I went again to another meditation, and I was like, okay, well, I accept it. I'm a healer. Like, how do you want me to heal? And then it was just like, they just said Reiki. I was like, okay.
It was very specific.
Yeah. Because I had never had Reiki before. I had heard of it. I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know why Reiki, but then it made sense because it led me to you. I mean, really, I didn't know Reiki. I had not had Reiki. You know, so when that download came through, I was like, well, okay. And then I just started to like ask around, and, you know, I happened to come across you, or somebody told me about you, something. So I was like,
was it on Yelp, or was it someone said something?
No, somebody said something. And then I knew people that were going to Denise.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay. So then my first experience with Reiki was through Denise. Yeah. And with her Reiki session, like that's where the name for my business came, through her session.
Yeah. So what excites you moving forward? You've been doing this work and helping people now. Obviously we continue to work on ourselves. That's a must. And I tell all of you guys that there's going to be things that come up in life, more lessons, when you just think like, okay, I finally caught a break. I think it's good. Boom, life hits you with another lesson, right?
Yes.
It's how fast that we can see the lesson for what it is and like move forward, right? And sometimes it's mental, emotional, physical, and all those things. Sorry guys, I have a cough drop in my mouth right now. doTERRA cough drop, by the way. But what excites you about the future, and like what group of people do you really want to serve? I know you're going to have people from all walks of life find you, but what types of people are you really interested in helping?
So what makes me excited is just, you know, helping overall. Like, to me, getting a Reiki session, like there's nothing like it. It's so relaxing. It's like I don't even know how to describe it. You have to try
I
it
feel
first.
like time stands still, right? Like time just like pauses.
Mm-hmm.
Hypnosis is the same, but
Mm-hmm.
different feeling and different intention, really.
Right.
But it just kind of just pauses,
Yeah.
and your body literally relaxes. Like it gets crazy. Like most people don't even have able to get that relaxed. Like
Mm-mm.
in years, they have not felt that relaxed. You know. So who though are you like excited to help?
I would love to help. You know, I for a very long time when you kept on saying like who or things like that, I'm like, well, I don't know, everybody, but I think
Right.
at some point I came to a realization that like I would love to help mothers who went through the same experiences at me, young moms, young women of color who maybe were brought up in the same way where their parents didn't understand them and they felt like they were the black sheep of the family, um and just that they're ready to step up their life and leave behind the suffering, leave behind the feeling of being that victim, and know that they can take back the control of their life and that they are in control of their life. So I would love to help women
Yeah.
who have been in my shoes, and any woman at all, really. But I think like I would definitely connect a lot to young moms, to teen moms who have had
Mhm.
a difficult time.
And just people like women, maybe even Mexican women who are is
Yeah.
like, is this all that there is to life? Is there
Right.
more?
Right.
Is there more for me? Or I know of some healing stuff in my culture, but my parents don't really acknowledge those healing modalities. They just go to
Yeah.
the doctor, and what doctor says is, like a
Go
king
to the
talk.
doctor and pray.
Right. And just hope for the best, even though you're worried the whole time, right? Like, isn't that, I mean, I grew up Catholic too. So there was a lot of worrying, a lot of guilt.
A lot of guilt. Oh my God. A lot of guilt.
Yeah.
Yes. One time, I don't know why these thoughts were coming, and I was just like, why? I don't know who was ill. Maybe it was like, the situation with my dad. I don't know, but like,
Mm.
they say pray, and I'm like, it's good, like pray, but at the same time, it's like, understand that you have control of your own healing as well. Like, you just cannot rely on praying and faith. Like, eat better, you know,
Mm.
see what the root is. Like, why are you sick?
Yeah.
It's not just you're sick because God sent you this illness. No, there has to be something that's making you sick.
The body's trying to communicate something. The body is
Exactly.
literally trying to communicate something before it's too late. It's like sending like the signals, like the
Mhm.
yellow light, like like you need to
Oh,
check
yeah.
check engine
Mm-hmm.
before the car just totally stops working.
Exactly.
And yeah, I get a little frustrated too. My mom, like, that's her thing. She'll text me like, can you pray for me, can you? And I'm like, I'll do Reiki for you, mom. you
Mhm.
know or I'll hop on a call in like life coach her,
Right.
and I'll help her start to visualize the end result that she wants.
Right.
Right. So it's like it's not okay, we're just gonna pray and hope, but I'm gonna worry the whole time. Like
Exactly.
that's what she think she's probably gonna do. So that's exciting. So there's a lot of people who are in your shoes, who are in your shoes that you were in before, where they're just starting out on this spiritual awakening. They are curious.
Mm-hmm.
There's more to life. They're afraid of defying their parents
Yeah.
and what their parents taught them is the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And they are women, and they're just, they're not sure what to do next. Do you have any tips or pointers for them that can help them? Maybe like 2 or 3 tips that could help someone in that situation.
I think first and foremost is realizing that they're not alone, and that really to, reach out for help, because I was in, like, I mean, and you know me, like, it's so hard for me to ask for help, but it's like, it's so necessary. And there's somebody that loves you and wants to help you. And for me, I didn't tell anybody what I was going through until it was like, my health was already like, deteriorating. I was having all this anxiety and this depression. And so just know that they're not alone, and that somebody else, at least one person, at least another person knows what they're going through. And it's just have the courage to talk about it and connect. And also to know that it's okay if your parents don't agree. It's okay if your family doesn't agree. At the end of the day, like, you do it for yourself. And if you have your children, know that they feed off your energy. And if you are sad and you are depressed, they feel that. They're feeding off your energy. And if the best solution is to leave that relationship, or whatever the step it is for you that you want to take for you to be happier, do it, because your children are feeding off of that.
Yeah. And by the way, I love meeting your two sons. Like, it was so fun when they came to the house, and like, I always talk about them to Rod. I'm like, oh, their energy is like just memorable for me. Like, they're gonna do something pretty amazing. I don't know what it is yet. I just know they are. And I love that their throat chakra is pretty healthy. Like, they'll ask questions, they'll be curious, they'll call you out, like, they'll just say what's on their mind.
Yes.
Which is so refreshing, because like, you had trouble with that, right? Growing up. So you're already changing though.
Yeah.
Like, you're changing the way your kids do it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're shifting things, whether you have realized that or not. I mean, just watching those two boys, you have, because they're speaking up and they feel safe enough and comfortable enough with you to do that.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what's important,
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, really exciting. And yeah, it's so fun when you go from a black and white view of life to like, everything's in color, the grass looks greener, the birds are chirping, and really it's your chance to create the life you want, versus just going through the motions, feeling kind of robotic and dead inside, to really feeling full of life. And I think that's what you hope to ignite in your clients, is like seeing life that is full of possibilities. It's whatever you want to make it, and just use their imagination. Like, when we were kids, like, just try again, like, hang out with a kid, go hang out with a kid, and watch what they think of things. Like, they'll imagine something, they'll look at like a bottle of something, and then you're like, what do you see? And then they tell you, and you're like, oh, that's fascinating. Like, I didn't even think that we could use it that way. So I like to hang out with my daughter, because she uses her imagination all the time, and it just drives me to continue to be creative, right? And we need to be reignited with that. Life sometimes just beats you down, and like, we end up looking at things just black and white, or this or that way. There's no gray, right? They're just like, oh, this or this. No, there's lots of options, But I like what you said, that people have to reach out and ask for help, because when I was in one of the worst states of my life, my husband actually reached out to a hypnotherapist. And that's what changed the course for me.
Right.
And it was beautiful that he reached out, because I was in the hospital and I couldn't look people up and, vet them. But he wanted to vet them for me to make sure, before we waste our time and money, that they were going to feel good. That I was going to be able to open up. And it was one of the best things that he connected me to. And it takes just reaching out. There's a lot of practitioners out there, and we're all waiting to serve, but we are definitely not going to push ourselves on somebody. And if you start getting people who push themselves, how some psychics say push themselves on you, and you want a reading, and like, you're very pushy, it's like, no, clearly you don't have enough work or something. Like, why are you pushing it? But we're ready to go when someone reaches out. And so if anyone listening to this call tonight feels like reaching out to you, the best thing they can do is click on the button, and it'll just go right to a form. They can fill that out and put a little bit of information about themselves, and it'll go straight to you. And then you'll get back to them in a day or two, and you can start working together, or if they have any questions, then they can reach out.
Yes.
And hopefully something you said in your story just kind of connects with them and inspires them, and that they reach out to you. So
Definitely.
thank you for continuing to walk in your purpose and being an inspiration for not just your boys, but for anybody else who meets you, especially for women who feel, you know, that they're in a position where can there be more to life, or can I really lean into what I'm good at, or what I'm feeling drawn to, even though there's going to be judgment all around me from my family or whatnot. Can I do that?
Yes.
And so I really hope they reach out to you and start to work with you. And it's really exciting how fast someone's trajectory can go when they just start saying yes to themselves.
Right.
Like, I'm going to, you know, put myself first and actually really go for this thing that lights me up, because then everyone else will see it around them, that they're lit up and their energy is good. The kids will feel different when, you know, mom is happy.
Yes.
And doing the things that really light her up. So thank you so much. I hope everyone listening can reach out to you or leave a comment on my YouTube channel. And thanks for being here.
Thank you. I hope to meet a lot of you guys soon.